Yeah, I just turned to a corner.
Really good one. That was really funny.
I'm so funny.
Welcome to the Brothers Game Podcast with me,
Hello.
Nicolai.
And me, Brian.
I know what you've all been wondering, and the wait is over. Because right now we're going to talk about what we thought of the Mario Brothers trailer. Brian, you start.
I like Jack Black as Bowser, as I thought I would.
That's unanimous on the internet. Everyone's very pro Jack Black.
Yes. So if you had shown me that trailer and I had no idea Chris Pratt was being
Right.
Mario, I wouldn't have been like,
would
oh,
not
that's
have-
Chris Pratt
Yes.
just doing his normal voice. Never would have said
Absolutely not.
that. And yet that seems to be the prevailing opinion. Everybody thinks, oh, it's just Chris Pratt sounding like Chris Pratt. I disagree.
Disagree.
That doesn't sound like Star-Lord. That sounds like
Someone else, yeah.
just a person. And
Here's
like
the thing. Everyone was just ready to hate Chris Pratt, so they just do, period.
I was like, no, it's not a spot-on Charles impersonation. But if that's
wasn't
what they
going
wanted,
for
they
that.
could have hired him.
Yeah, he wasn't going for that, clearly.
Yeah.
I re-listened to just that bit at the end where he says, Mushroom Kingdom, here we come,
Yeah.
over and over.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, there's like there's a bit of an Italian accent in there. There's a bit of like totally different than his normal voice.
Also, Mario has never sounded like an authentic Italian person ever. And anybody expecting that, why?
I
You
had,
clearly don't know Mario.
I tweeted and I was just like, be honest with yourself. It doesn't sound like Chris Pratt. You just don't like Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
Like that's the truth. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So besides that, obviously, I think we'll have to see more of him
Yeah.
to really get a good opinion
Now,
of him.
I wasn't sure what to expect when I heard the
Exactly.
announcements of this casting, and I thought, okay, well, this is going to be a fun train wreck.
Yeah.
And then I see the trailer, I'm like, okay,
oh, no.
so they're
They're putting
playing
effort
it
into
straight,
this.
and it seems like they're actually trying, and it actually looks kind of good, which is not what I was expecting
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, I mean the visuals are fantastic also. So yeah, Mario's face does look a bit off, but that's just because we're so used to a certain look of him. I think that'll go away after just a few minutes of watching the movie.
Yeah.
So I mean, in general, I'm pretty optimistic about it.
Yeah, like I'm way more so than I was before I saw the trailer.
Yeah. I'm wondering how they're going to work in Donkey Kong and stuff too.
Yeah.
Like, because it's one of those like isekai things, it seems, basically.
Yeah.
Because Mario's new to he doesn't know what the Mushroom Kingdom is, clearly,
Yeah.
from the trailer. And I mean, that's very common in kids' movies, is somebody falling into a fantastical world.
Right.
But then who's Luigi? Like, is he new also? Is that his brother? Yeah. We'll have to see. I have no idea.
Mario, and Luigi Mario.
Yeah,
The Mario
exactly.
Brothers.
So, I mean, plot, we'll see.
Yeah.
Obviously, Bowser's going for the power star. So,
Yeah.
that's about it. It's a strong, not bad, but we'll see.
I love that within like seconds of the trailer coming out, I saw a tweet of the penguin from
Yep.
Super Mario 64
Being-
just like could never catch a break.
Yeah, getting their revenge. That's what they're gonna do. So yay! I mean, listen, the Sonic movies were good, and they have no reason to be good either.
Detective Pikachu was good. Like they figured out how to make good video game movies.
They're working on
finally.
it clearly,
So I have high hopes.
and I mean, Nintendo's putting a lot into this. They officially like incorporated, I don't know, something like that, the Nintendo Pictures like brand.
Yeah.
So,
if
like-
Nintendo actually takes this seriously, I can't imagine it not
Yeah.
being good. That would be like the thing that kept it from being good, is just Nintendo not treating it as a serious thing to actually put effort into.
Yeah, if they put the time and effort and get the Nintendo polish on there, I mean, they're going to be good. So, yeah, that's that. Speaking of Nintendo polish and stuff,
Yeah.
I think if you want to get, be just so impressed with how Nintendo does things, watch Scruffy on YouTube, who does a lot of he does sound and music things.
Okay.
And he talks about the deep sound design of video games a lot. And like he did one on Breath of the Wild and the invisible sound design and stuff in it. He talked about Mario, Animal Crossing, these newer games, and how just deeply detailed the sound design is.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Like in Breath of the Wild, there's for sounds of walking, there's hundreds of different like tracks of walking sounds because depending on terrain and footwear and all these things, these are all considered and like purposefully put into the game.
I mean, you can tell Breath of the Wild is such a labor of love. Like, a lot went into that game.
Yeah, the amount of details and stuff is kind of mind blowing. And they're called. It's called invisible sound design because it's so good.
No, that's the thing. Is like
exists.
I bet a lot of the work that went into games like Breath of the Wild was lost on people.
Yeah, and so that's what this video is highlighting is the stuff that is lost on you because it's so good.
Yeah,
but you should think about it and realize how much effort was put into these games. Yeah, and I think Nintendo just does that. So if they come at it from that angle, I mean, their movies are going to be good. Yeah. And Animal Crossing was the same way. There's one thing in particular, in your house, you can have speakers. And obviously the type of speakers you put out, the game will put like a filter on the music that's coming out of them to make them sound like they're coming out of that type of speaker, right?
Yeah.
Which is good and makes sense. But where you put it in the room changes the acoustics of
that's
it.
Cool.
They simulate a room. They literally are simulating a room.
Because, that's
which
awesome.
is insane, right? Which is like, oh yeah, duh. But you remember, this is not a real room.
Yeah.
This is just a video game.
Right.
So they had to make this. So if your camera is pointed towards the speaker, it sounds like the music's coming at you.
Right.
So there's more high tone and stuff. But if you spin your camera around and you're now behind the speaker, the highs go away sort of, and it becomes just a little more muted. You can barely tell. But if you flip back and forth, you can hear the difference.
Yeah, wow.
That's how much detail is put into it.
That's awesome.
So, and I know you would appreciate that too as a sound engineer. So anyway, I would recommend those videos because you will be into that for sure.
Cool.
Anyway, it's just very impressive. And it's part of why you love these games without realizing why almost. You can just tell they're high quality.
Yeah.
But it's because of little things like that you don't even like consciously think about.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So anyway, that was a thing I did recently, and that was fun.
We'll get the Pokemon section out of the way.
Oh, sure.
So I just watched that one guy who's doing all the Living Dex videos.
Right, he just finished Gen 2, right?
Yeah, and oh my goodness,
I haven't watched it yet, but
I didn't remember how bad it was because like how much
Gen 2 sucks.
I just cheated my way through it when I was a kid, so like I didn't have to suffer the way this guy did.
Yeah.
So one thing that this guy did and another Poke YouTuber did that I never thought to do but is really smart is having a Pokemon that is as the same level as the level of Pokemon you're going after, and then using repels.
Oh yeah, that's so useful
to filter out all the lower level Pokemon.
Yeah,
because
it's a great strat.
And obviously the legendary dogs are level 40, so you just go into any area where the highest level Pokemon is below level 40 with a level 40 in the lead.
Yep, you will only encounter the dogs.
And you'll only encounter those.
Brilliant.
So that's great. So that part made it a little easier, but everything else about Gen 2 just made it really hard.
Rough, man.
So first he went over how eggs in Gen 2 have a super low spawn rate compared to later gens.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Just the egg spawning, let alone the egg hatching.
Dude, so I talked about this way back in a gold playthrough. On my physical gold cartridge, I have I wanted to get an Espeon.
Yeah.
And if you breed Eevee, it starts at like 100, 112, I think, friendship.
Yeah.
Like way higher happiness and friendship
Right.
than if you just go with the Eevee you're given. And so I was like, oh, I'll do that real quick. And I'm used to like Sword and Shield,
Right.
where you spin around a couple times and they're holding an egg immediately. And yeah, it took like many minutes of just running back and forth on that route. I could not believe it. Yeah.
It's so weird. I don't know if I blocked it out of my memory or something, but I don't, because I got an Espeon legitimately in Gen 2 way back when I was like 12 years old, and I don't remember going
It being a
through.
real issue. Yeah.
I may have just been super lucky and just got an egg really quickly, and then just and I think I just did stuff while I was doing other stuff, so it wasn't
Yeah.
as big a deal. I don't know, because I don't remember like it being hard.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I
I did
probably
the
just got
opposite.
super lucky.
I like hyper optimized it as much as possible. And I mean, it worked. I got an Espeon at level like 17.
Yeah.
Which is really good in Gen 2 and pretty difficult. And I did sort of cheat by like
Yeah.
changing the time, the clock,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
which really just sped it up. Didn't really cheat anything. But yeah, no, it takes time.
Yeah. And then, so he encounters the legendary dog, and his strategy is to use mean look so it can't run away.
Okay.
So he has a Crobat with mean look, and he has a Parasect with Spore.
Of course.
So he uses mean look, he switches to Parasect, and then the thing runs away. So the mean look doesn't persist
It doesn't
when you switch
persist?
your team.
That is absurd.
So then he does it again, and it uses roar, which makes you run away. And it can roar on the first turn.
Bro. Insane.
So he so
hate
finally,
it. I hate
finally,
it.
he gets so frustrated he uses his Master Ball on Raikou.
Yeah. He's like, forget it.
Yeah.
But they probably all know Roar.
Oh yeah. So he gets Raikou because he
That's
uses the
so-
Master Ball.
that's
But
so
to get
mean.
Suicune and Entei, he just like so then he's like, okay, so he catches a Jumpluff
Okay.
so that because it can learn Sleep Powder, which at least has 75% accuracy.
Right. Not terrible. It's not Sing.
And then he has to and then he puts everything into speed so that so he can get it to level 40 and make sure it actually goes before Entei or Suicune. And so he uses it like the first time, Sleep Powder, miss, run away.
Yep. Instantly. Like, perfect. Then you got to go find the dog again.
Yeah. So then he gets Suicune, and then he encounters an Entei, and so so he had to shift his strategy around, and he was like in a spot where he's in between a city and a route, so that he only has to move one square to change their spawn point.
Oh, yeah.
And basically, if it works the way I think it does, because you can look up where they are on the map.
Oh, you can
The
in
route
Gen
that
2?
they're on. Yeah,
I know
once
you-
you've seen them, you
Okay.
can find them. You
Because
can
I knew
find out
you,
what route
I knew
they're
you
on.
could in like Heart Gold and Soul Silver,
Yeah.
but I wasn't sure if that was true in the originals.
And so then, and he fights Entei, who gets him down to 1 health.
Jeez,
He's like,
Scary.
and he keeps waking up from sleep, so he keeps having to put him back to sleep. And he gets right after he gets down to 1 health, he gets him to sleep one more time, throws another Ultra Ball and gets him. And
Oof.
like I
Yeah,
could
intense.
feel the excitement coming off of this guy. Just like I could
You're like,
could
"I've been
relate to
there,"
where
yeah.
he's been. Like just yeah.
Nice. Very cool.
So yeah, that's all I have for Pokemon today. Did you have anything?
Oh.
Have you played
Well, I've not
Pokemon
played,
lately, or have you
but
been
there was
looking at
a
anything?
new 14-minute trailer.
Oh right, I haven't actually watched it. So
Yeah, for Scarlet and Violet, and so that was cool. It was a nice long like gameplay trailer. They showed quite a bit. Most notable things is of course you've seen the evolution for
Yeah.
Girafarig,
right.
which is cool. I actually really like Girafarig. So speaking of Gen 2, So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It looks interesting.
Yeah.
It has a spiky head ball thing.
Yep. It's like it's wearing a hoodie, but
Yeah. And it's still just normal psychic. So I think it's just a pretty standard evolution. I think it's nice to see, though, just kind of that old school, hey, this is just a new evolution for
Yeah.
an existing Pokemon. Like a Gen 4 and 5 type thing. So I thought that was nice.
yeah, it's funny. There were times in like Gen 4 where it was almost like, okay, can you stop just adding evolutions? But I think after a while, it's like, no, you know what? After all the other stuff, let's just go back to regular
back to
new
that.
evolutions. That's,
Yeah. Well, and some of them are just so good, too.
I mean,
Like-
some of them are legitimately cool. So,
Yeah, Miss Magius and Honchkrow, like, were fantastic additions, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, but I just happen to like those Pokemon very much.
Yeah.
And Porygon 2 and Z, and I don't know, they added a lot of good stuff, I think.
I didn't love like Electivire and Magmortar.
Right, mostly those are kind of lame, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Blissy's okay, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't really care about Electabuzz and Magmar anyway, so. Yeah. So besides that, they showed off picnics, which are sort of like the camping in Sword and Shield,
Right.
except you're at a picnic table.
Uh-huh.
That's about it. And instead of making curry, you can make sandwiches. And the sandwiches were interesting. You have to like build it. It's like a little cooking mama thing.
Yeah.
And like each piece of the sandwich has like its own physics and stuff. So your sandwich can like fall over as you're building it. So you can mess it up.
Wow.
It's very weird. Interesting
game within a game there.
Yeah. So there's that. You can also find random eggs when you're having picnics, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
Just like random Pokemon eggs. So that's about that. It's very cute, obviously. The only other big thing I would say is sort of a Legends Arceus element, which is some crafting.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how the materials work exactly, but it showed that in like those Pokemon Center, Pokemart stop things that are just strewn about the world. There's also like a crafting area, and one of the crafting things is TMs. So it showed
interesting. Okay.
It showed him crafting an Icy Wind TM and being able to teach it to one of his Pokemon. And that is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, and it's one thing that newer games have done really well as far as like Sword and Shield and Arceus and stuff is making TMs and good moves very accessible
Yeah.
pretty early usually.
Well, because they make the game more fun.
Exactly.
To be able to use the cool moves.
Yeah. It's one of the biggest problems with old generations is having a good Pokemon that only learns a good move at like 60.
Yeah.
Or just never learns a good
And
move
like,
at all.
I understand that they're like, oh, if we give them the good moves early in the game, then they'll just steamroll the game.
Right.
Which happens anyway.
Exactly.
So really,
Yeah.
once you have a War Turtle with Water Gun, you are in steamroll
Like, I'm
territory.
good. That's all I need. Yeah, it just makes it more fun. And it makes Pokemon that aren't as strong more viable.
Yeah.
Because at least you have, flamethrower with it. So you can at least do some damage. Like, yeah. I think it's all around a good thing. So that's cool. I'll definitely be doing that a lot, probably.
Yeah.
Crafting every TM I can possibly get. So that's good. I don't know if they're constant use, like in the previous few games.
Yeah.
Like if you can just reuse a TM over and over, or if they're going to add the TRs back.
Right, yeah. If they're going to do like
Yeah.
the distinction between the two.
Seeing as how they're craftable, I don't know how easy they are to craft, but I'm going to guess maybe they are one-time use because you can craft multiple of them.
Yeah.
But
Or maybe you can
I
craft
guess
both
we'll just see.
TRs
Yeah.
and TMs.
Yeah,
or,
it's
I don't know.
possible. Maybe some are only available as TRs, just like Sword and Shield. But yeah, I guess we'll have to see. I'm sure if you analyze the trailer, you could figure it out. But
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people. So the last thing is a nice amount of character customization.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And tons of hairstyles, more than Sword and Shield even. You can change your eye shape which is new. You actually had changed the shape and style of your eyes and stuff. So there's a lot more customization, which is nice, I think, especially because the base character designs are pretty blah compared to previous generations. But I think that'll be fixed by there being a ton of customization. So you can kind of just look however you want, I think.
Yeah.
That's
I liked
about it.
Gloria's
Yeah.
base design too much to change
Gloria
it.
is so cool. Yeah. Yeah, these past few generations, the female design is so much better
Oh, yeah.
than the male. Is so boring. Like Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield especially.
Yeah.
I think they're just
Yep, Celine
just
and Gloria, they have great
dude.
designs.
You're like, whatever.
Yeah, the guy just generic anime style boy character.
Anime boy.
Like,
I still like, it's the best part of Diamond and Pearl is I like Diamond a lot, the guy, because he got a little cool hat, a little scarf. I'm all about that. So, anyway, yeah, I think that's it for me for Pokemon now.
okay.
And thus ends the Pokemon podcast.
Yes.
Now let's do the video game podcast.
Do the non-Pokemon video game podcast. So I've been playing a lot of Mass Effect.
Yeah, you have.
So I beat the first game.
Do you finally have the itch for Mass Effect? Or are you just sort of enjoying it?
I'm enjoying it. It's
You're not
different
addicted,
enough. It's different enough from other games to have its own special niche, and like it's not the only game that gives you like different conversation options, but I feel like it does it's so much more in depth than any of those other games.
I think that's what is often praised about it. So okay.
So I've beaten the first two games and I'm playing the third game.
Oh, you're on the third already?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think in the last episode I was still playing the first one.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So
you've clearly been at it, yes.
There will be some spoilers for the game. There's not a bunch of like major plot twists in it. So basically, if you haven't played and you don't want to know anything about the story, you should probably pause. But otherwise, this isn't really going to, I think knowing the ending won't really change how you play the game, frankly.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
So yeah, basically, what's really going on, quote unquote, is there's these massive sentient battleships called Reapers that are millions and millions of years old, who every 50,000 years or so come through and wipe out all intelligent life in the galaxy.
Nice.
And you're trying to stop them.
Now we're stopping.
Now, in the first game, you don't realize that they're really the big bads. There's just this guy, Saren, who you're after. But it turns out he's serving them, essentially. Okay. He's serving one of them is here in the galaxy. The rest are in like this dark area of space away. And they're trying to... the one that is here is trying to like open the gateway to let them all in and kill everybody.
This reminds me of Serenity a little bit.
Yeah. And so you eventually realize that, oh, this ship is controlling the guy that I've been after all along. And the real threat is the ship. And
this is a real Mass Effect.
Yeah. And all the Mass Effect stuff, all the Citadel and everything, built by the Reapers, not by the Protheans, who you think built all this stuff.
Interesting.
No, the Protheans just used it just like you do. All the Mass Effect relays and stuff are millions of years old, not way older than the Protheans.
So I like that sci-fi that's like ancient alien sci-fi tech.
Yeah.
I think it's the coolest part of like the Metroid series is like the ancient like Choa stuff and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool.
And so in the first game, you asked me, did I think Mass Effect 2 was better than Mass Effect 1?
Yeah.
So that's an interesting question because for me, the time I spent on the Citadel and the time I spent in conversations with people, I actually preferred in the first game.
Okay.
Over the second game. I preferred the story and the character interactions in the first game. But the shooter part of the game is much better in the second game.
Vastly improved.
Yes, hugely improved in the second game. Because in the first game, whenever you're not in a
se-
place like the
It
Citadel,
seems clunky just looking at it. So.
you are going around to these planets where they have taken the time to like build scenery and stuff and mountainscapes and stuff, and it actually looks kind of cool. But these planets are just like these barren wastelands with maybe one or two little tiny bases in the middle of nowhere. And you go in there and you shoot up stuff. And by the way, every base it has the exact same layout with a different skin.
Nice.
And you go in and you shoot everybody in there, and then you leave. And then there's a lot of planets that just have nothing. And so you can like survey them and get like materials.
Yeah.
And then that's it. And there's bits of lore, bits of flavor text for each of these planets, but otherwise, yeah. And so
but that's it.
and one thing I did in Mass Effect 2 that I should have done in Mass Effect 1 is just pull up the wiki that has all of the quests so that I could just find all of them and know exactly where they are, and then just do them all in a list. Because I wanted to just do most, if not all, of the side quests in the game. I did a lot of side quests, but I didn't have any idea where any of them are, so I was just kind of randomly walking around and talking to people, which I liked that, actually. I prefer
You're like, I gotta
playing
just figure
that
out
way,
what's going on.
but if you do play that way, you miss out on stuff.
Yeah, it's true.
Also, in the first game, so you've got this whole Paragon Renegade thing, which is basically the good evil.
Your alignment,
essentially.
For sure.
But basically, Paragon is the stoic, paladin, lawful good.
Paladin, yeah, totally.
And Renegade is the a-hole.
Yeah.
The guy,
loose cannon cop.
but also the guy who gets things done.
Yeah. He lives on the edge and doesn't play by the rules, yeah.
In the first game, these are stats that you can increase.
Okay.
Now, you can also shift the balance just by decisions you make, things you say, but you can just allocate stat points to those two things, and then you get all of the conversation options.
Okay, interesting. That's odd, yeah.
So it doesn't really matter where you are on the spectrum. If you max out both of those points, you get all the conversation options. That is not the case in Mass Effect 2.
Okay.
And in fact, I never got my Paragon up high enough to unlock all of the Paragon speech things, even at the very end of the game.
Interesting.
And so, unfortunately, I realized that, the best thing I should do is just always pick the Paragon speech option, regardless of the situation, just so that I get my Paragon up high enough to unlock all the Paragon options. Which is unfortunate because one of the things I loved about the first game is being able to pick whichever speech option I wanted.
You felt like
in the moment.
Yeah. So you could have a mixture of sort of.
So
this is a bit more linear almost.
Mass Effect 2 is much more linear.
Okay. Interesting.
Which I think they realized that people were
Which has
like
maybe good and bad things to it. Yeah.
Because I think the first game was so open and
it might have been confusing a little
that people probably like got lost really easily. I know I did.
Yeah.
So in Mass Effect 2, it's much clearer, much more linear.
Okay.
And so in Mass Effect 3, it's much more like 2 than it is like 1.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in 3, I am metagaming a lot more than I was in the other games. So now it's just every single conversation, always pick the Paragon option because I want to maximize that so that I get all the Paragon speech options.
Just for option's sake, yeah.
Because then it lets you do things like diffuse a situation by like getting both sides to agree instead of having to pick a side and stuff like that.
That's good, yeah.
Like, there's a situation in Mass Effect 2 where there's two girls on the ship fighting, and if your Paragon is high enough or your Renegade is high enough, you can pick an option that calms them both down. But if you don't have enough in either area, you just have to pick a side. You have to pick someone to side with, and the other one, you lose all
hates you forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dang.
Like
That's rough.
they gain your loyalty. They become loyal to you after it. So
you have friendship points.
Every team member has a loyalty mission you go on, and after you complete that mission, they become loyal to you. And so I did that with one character, and then after that, like fight between her and another character, no more loyalty. Also, no romance option with her either. Just
gone. I hate you. Rough.
And my Paragon was never high enough to win her back. even just to get her loyal, let alone to have her be a romance option. So
Messed up.
yep. And then it was interesting because Mass Effect 1 and 2 feel very different.
Okay.
So just like Halo 2 and later games feel very different. These two,
Right. Definitely.
there's a level where I swear it felt like I was playing a Borderlands game.
Wow. Okay.
Especially because one of the teammates you recruit is this girl who is wearing very little and is covered head to toe in tattoos, and she has psychic powers. And she just looks like she came
Literally
straight
Lilith.
out of a Borderlands
This
game.
is Lilith. Yeah.
And you
That's awesome.
you're breaking her out of a prison and just shooting down all these guys, and like it felt very
That's Borderlands. That's
and
all
then
of Borderlands.
when you're fighting the collectors, it feels like you're playing Halo 4.
Okay. Yeah. You're like, I'm fighting the... What are they called?
The Didact, I think his name was.
Didact?
Yeah.
I keep want to say freelancers.
The Forerunners?
But Forerunners.
Yeah.
I kept want to say freelancers like in Red versus Blue. Anyway.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then in Mass Effect 3, the Reapers are here, and
you are fighting them.
They land on Earth, and they're like, and a million people are dead within minutes.
That is what they're there for.
It's just like, holy crap! It's
rough.
kind of intense. Like it really gripped me, honestly.
Like,
the
this
story,
sucks.
like, wow, you're just. You know that every minute you're spending outside just doing side quests and stuff, the Reapers are on Earth killing millions of people.
Millions are dying. Just so you know.
And not just
That's
on
messed
Earth,
up.
on other planets too. Just like they're attacking all over the place.
Yeah. That's good. I mean, that's what I know of Mass Effect is that the story is actually good and like does grip you a little bit.
And I feel like in 3 it gripped me even more than like 2 did, because I feel like
that's good that it's improving.
the actions
sorta.
in 2, the story of 2 almost could have not happened. You could like almost forget that about all the events in 2 and go straight from 1 to 3, and you wouldn't have missed anything. I feel like,
but better
almost.
action in general.
Yeah, and then the action, so in Mass Effect 1, it feels like a pretty straightforward third-person shooter.
Mm-hmm.
In Mass Effect 2, it is very much fighting from cover.
Okay, so like Gears of War.
Because if you aren't in cover, you will die very quickly, even at higher levels.
Yeah.
Because your shields just don't last long enough.
Yeah, you're not Master Chief.
Yeah, no, you will just
You're Master Chief on Legendary.
Yeah. And I'm playing on normal. So this is this
So I can
second
only imagine,
lowest difficulty.
I can only imagine the higher difficulties then. Yeah.
Also, Mass Effect 3 has just a story mode where the
nice.
combat is super easy in case you just want to experience the story.
Yeah.
There's also one where it's just like the story text options are all just automatic, and you play it like a shooter with cutscenes.
Yeah.
And then there's the middle option that is just classic Mass Effect, quote unquote,
Yeah.
where you can change the difficulty and you still get full control of
I think
speech options.
that's probably smart from like wide audience perspective.
Yeah,
they're just
it is.
they're trying to get everyone
people
to be
who
able to
just
play.
want a shooter with a good story,
Yeah.
they'll probably want that first option. Whereas people who want to want a movie that they participate in, can choose the story mode, and then people who want a classic Mass Effect game pick the middle mode. Yeah,
Right. Accessibility.
yeah.
Yeah. Unlike any Souls game or
Right.
From Software game. Yeah. There is no difficulty. You just die.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, yeah. I mean, like Gus from Rooster Teeth, he says, I think he said Mass Effect 2 in particular is probably his favorite game of all time.
Yeah.
I'm like, interesting.
The first Mass Effect game, I really wanted to do like a new game plus, but they don't have that. But in Mass Effect 2, they basically do. You can restart the game with all of your stuff on that you.
Oh, can you keep
Unlocked.
your paradigm level?
Yeah, And
so then you would have all the options.
Yeah, exactly. And then I would just pick the Paragon option every time until I unlocked all those speech options. But like after I completed it, it's like that was a long enough game that I don't really want to do it again right away.
Yeah. But probably a someday replay.
Yeah. Mass Effect 1, I feel like if you didn't do any side quests, you could probably get through in under 20 hours. Whereas Mass Effect 2, it took me 40 hours.
Yeah, that seems about right. It seems like a 20-hour game type of game. I guess does 2 have a good amount more content, you would say?
Yeah, I feel like it just takes longer to get through.
Okay. Nice.
But
yeah. All the games I like to play are too long.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like looking at my pile of unplayed games, just about every game in that pile is going to be at least 40 hours.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah.
And some of those are going to be a lot longer, like Persona 5, probably.
I know. Persona. I want to play Persona so bad. Speaking of news, they did announce finally the release date for Persona 3 Portable and 4 Golden for the Switch.
Okay.
Which is going to be in January. So just a few months away.
Yeah.
It seems far away, but that's pretty close, actually. And so I probably will just wait to replay 4 until that happens. But until then, I could probably finish 5 by January.
Yeah.
So I might try to make that happen. But instead, I'm playing Zelda. So there's that.
So the other night, we installed a bidet in my toilet.
Yeah, we did.
That was
and it was effortless.
an adventure.
Yeah.
PVC sucks.
Yeah, dude.
Don't use it for anything.
Really, really old PVC that's cemented together really sucks. Thankfully, I just had a like saw multi-tool.
Yeah, so we just cut it off and it worked.
We were just like, we struggled for a while there just trying to wrench it off of there.
Yeah.
That was just not going to happen. Yeah. So, but actually, cutting it off worked pretty well.
Yeah.
Because it was just like a, nut ring basically.
Hasn't leaked at all.
Yeah, I think once we got all the tape on there and
plumber's tape is magic.
Yes, it is magic. It just fills all the cracks. All plumbers should put it on their backsides.
Yeah.
They'd fill the plumber's crack. So think about that, audience. How's your butt?
That's good.
Good. How many times have you used it?
A few.
A few.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a thing you have to get used to.
Yeah, it is.
So Tushy, if you want to sponsor us, please email us.
It's like you just gotta get in there and just go for it.
You just gotta go for it.
You can't be timid about it.
You can't be scared of the spray.
Yeah, because if you're timid about it, it's just not gonna do anything for you.
I'm guessing the first time it's like, ha!
Yeah,
a little bit.
Is.
I mean, how would it not be?
Right.
Is it like super cold?
Or is it cold, but it's not like
it's not too bad.
Kind of cold. It's just cold.
I know because some higher end ones.
Yeah, you can get ones with warm water.
Can heat it and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think I need that.
I might wait until I can get a nicer one, but I don't know. I do really want one.
I just wanted to try a cheap one and see how it worked, and it seems to work.
I'm
just
glad
fine.
they're becoming way more popular and sort of the standard because it's cool.
Yeah,
and seems more cleanly, but
yeah,
who knows? So let us know in the comments your favorite ways to wipe. And if you're bidet fans, how about that? I mean, also what I've heard is once you get used to it, you can never go back.
Yeah.
Like you just feel unclean without it. Mm-hmm. And I could totally see that.
Yeah.
Because that's how I feel about like wet wipes and stuff too.
Uh-huh.
Mandatory.
Yeah.
Mandatory in my opinion. So.
Yeah. That's why I didn't like going at work because I didn't have any of that.
I never use public toilets pretty much.
Yeah.
Ever.
I prefer not to, but sometimes you gotta go.
I don't know. I feel like I can wait. Anyways, that's the potty talk for the episode.
Yep.
Brian, aren't you going to ask what I've been doing?
What have you been doing?
I don't know. Nothing much.
Cool.
Just kidding. I have 2 Zelda things to talk about.
All right.
2 different Zelda games. So, firstly, I'll talk about this game called Breath of the Wild.
Right.
I don't know if you've heard of it.
I don't think anybody's heard of it.
No, I have not replayed it.
Oh,
but I
okay.
did a little bit. Only a little bit. I was watching a video. There's a great channel called Any Percent that talk about very strange categories in speedruns.
Okay.
And they were talking about the Master Sword percent in Breath of the Wild, which is a speed run of just how quickly can you get from the beginning to the Master Sword,
Right.
having the Master Sword.
Yeah, you told me a little about this.
Yeah. So I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast, though.
No,
Specifically.
you did not.
Okay. So basically, you need 13 hearts to get the Master Sword
Right.
in Breath of the Wild, period. That is the way to get it. They slowly found little weird glitches and stuff to be able to get past that. One of them started with spoofing the hearts themselves with like that demon statue in Hateno Village. You can
Okay.
sort of trick the game into giving you free, like into like doubling your hearts basically, which is cool. But that still took a good amount of time. And then they found a way harder method, which involved like a deer and like getting it into the Lost Woods, all these things. It was an atrocious speed run. And then one guy found the most simple glitch, and it is so ludicrous how simple it is. So in the video I watched, you go to where the Master Sword is.
Right.
You drop some wood down, you light it on fire to make a campfire. The campfire is right next to the Master Sword.
Yep.
You look straight up into the sky. So you're seeing the trees above you. You hit the button to take a nap or whatever. Sit by the campfire. You sit till morning or whatever. As that transition happens, basically you can just mash the A button. And as it fades back in, stuff is loading in really slowly. And there is a couple frames where you can just pick up the Master Sword as if it was a normal item.
Right.
And that's it. That's the entire glitch. I'm sure the looking up is important actually, because you're not, because I think stuff was rendering more slowly when you're looking up, like, because you're not looking at it.
Right.
And so I was like, I have to try this. Like that, there's no way it's that easy. So I loaded up my guest file, which was awesome. I happened to have a file that was just right at the end of the Great Plateau. So it was just right after the prologue. So I'm like, perfect. I can just go straight forward, you know? So I have no map. I only have 4 hearts. I have like my cold doublet. I have some sticks and I'm going. So I just travel as fast as I can straight to the Lost Woods, which is pretty far north actually.
Right.
I stop at the Woodland Tower, which is the one at like it's like a muddy bog, and it's like a training camp with a lot of enemies around it.
Right.
But it's right next to the Lost Woods. So I do that mostly so that I have a warp point if I mess up or something. I don't know. So I go straight from there to the Lost Woods. I have, again, nothing. I've basically just started the game. I have wood, and I have a few fire arrows to light the fire. So I quickly go through the Lost Woods, no problem. It's funny because Hestu, the big Korok guy with the maracas, isn't there yet because I haven't met him because he's still back at Kakariko. So that was interesting. I've never seen that before, you know. So I get there, talk to the Deku Tree, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's time. Let's do this. So I drop it. I kind of drop it to make sure I'm looking at it in an area where I can interact with the campfire and with the Master Sword at the same time. So I'm like, hopefully that should work. And I do it just like the video, you know, look up, take a nap. I'm just mashing the A button.
Yep.
And first try, I pick up the Master Sword. First try. I'm like, I cannot believe how easy this is. Effortless glitch. I cannot believe they haven't patched this. because this was found a while ago now. I don't think they will patch it. I guess they just don't care. Maybe it's long enough, maybe in the game's life. Because I mean, Tears of the Kingdom's coming out fairly soon. So amazing. I have the Master Sword, so I'm like, well, I already have the Master Sword. I want to take this a step further. So I go straight from the Deku Woods, and I go straight to Hyrule Castle.
Right.
With still just 4 hearts. I'm like, I'm gonna get the Hylian shield because I already have the. So I go in there. Obviously, Master Sword glows and is 60 power when you're in the Hyrule Castle.
Right.
So I'm just wrecking stuff. I kind of have to be careful not to get hit.
Right.
Because not only do I have low hearts, I have no armor. I just have like the Hylian trousers and stuff. But I basically don't get hit once, and I just wreck everything in there.
Nice.
And of course, Hyrule Castle's full of good weapons too. All these royal bows and all these things. I beat the bone Stalnox pretty easily. I get the Hylian shield, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. I go down and do the shrine so that I can just warp into the castle. And I ended the play session there, but now I'm considering just fighting Ganon.
Yeah, right.
And just to see if I can. Like, because I've just never played this way, so it's really weird and fun.
Yeah.
It's great to it's incredible to have new experiences in Breath of the Wild still. Just shows how insane that game is.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was very fun. It's very fun to have a glitch work that easily.
Yeah.
And have it be just that insane.
I wonder what it's like to play Skyrim now, especially with mods.
Yeah, for sure.
I wonder how different of a game it would feel like.
Yeah, I'm sure with mods just to clean it up a little bit too, like graphically.
It's been over 10 years since I played it.
Yeah. I've still never played it. But I have like the Legendary Edition on PS4.
Oh, and you just haven't
It's
played
just
it?
sitting there. I just haven't played it. It's like, I mean, Persona 5 Royal too. I haven't played that.
Yeah.
Probably an incredible game that I will love deeply. But, you know, I also have Dark Souls 3. I want to play that too.
Yep.
But, you know, yeah. But instead, I'm playing Wind Waker.
Yeah.
So I did mention to you in person that I am playing Zelda Wind Waker right now.
Right.
I just played a ton last night also. I replayed it because, well, it's been a long time since I played it. And it's with Breath of the Wild as my favorite Zelda. So I've been watching Achievement Hunter play a randomizer of Wind Waker. Randomizer for Breath of the Wild would be awesome, though.
Yeah.
Now that I mention it. I'm sure that exists somewhere.
Yeah, I would imagine
Surely.
so.
I wonder if Smallhand's done that.
Unless it's too hard to do.
Yeah,
But
I don't know. Now I'm very curious about that. But Wind Waker is very fun to watch randomized. And it's very fun to replay. I'm having a very nice time. It does make me wish I was playing the HD version because of the graphics and the quality of life improvements are pretty substantial. But I haven't played this physical copy, and I want to beat it at least once on the actual GameCube. So, yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah. I watched a video. I can't remember if I mentioned this in the podcast, but I don't think I did. I watched a Rasputin video on companions.
Rasputin on companions.
Yeah, and he
Cubes
specifically
in
was
particular?
talking mainly of like Zelda companions, but also a couple of other games with similar types of companions. And like whether they actually benefit the game or not.
Like the King of Red Lions and stuff in Wind Waker? Or
Yeah, I mean, he was mainly talking about like
Navi.
Midna, and the others. I forget most of their names, but
wait, who else? Fee from
Yeah.
Skyward Sword.
Yep.
She's kind of annoying.
Yeah, and he talked about the ones
I mean, I like her
that
as a
seemed
character.
to detract from the game, and the ones that seemed like they actually added to the game. And yeah, just going over like, are they helpful? Are they good? Or are they just a distraction?
Yeah. I like the King of Red Lions and Wind Waker. I think he's fairly unintrusive.
Yeah.
It just kind of pipes up if you've been messing up for a long time. It's good for like especially kids who are playing the game,
Yeah.
like who maybe aren't just figuring out what you're supposed to do. So, yeah. I definitely get the annoyance from like Navi and stuff.
Yeah.
The classic Hey
Dude,
Listen thing.
the Midna fans in the comments were like, I will not tolerate
There's
any
some-
slander
There's
against
some
Midna.
big Midna fans. I mean, I get it. That's a cute little imp, but
Yeah.
I just don't like Twilight Princess very much. So.
Yeah.
I don't like how everything's brown. I'd rather play Wind Waker where there's colors and fun.
It's funny. Someone was talking about how original Xbox games all looked really muddy, and I'm like, I kind of liked that aesthetic, frankly.
Yeah, some games it really works, and some it's more noticeable.
That was
like,
actually one thing I loved about Halo 2 is just the aesthetic
I
really
think,
worked
I
for
think
me.
it was a good looking game in general. I think it's done decently in Halo 2 and done badly in like Borderlands 1
Yeah.
is a very boring looking game. Except for the cell shaded.
Also, I thought it was interesting, like Mass Effect 1 was for the Xbox 360, not the original Xbox, but it didn't look as good as Halo 2, in my opinion.
Yeah. It looked like an Xbox game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see that. I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wind Waker's pretty grainy in general. A little not as sharp as I'm used to seeing games nowadays. It's hard for me with old Pokemon too. Some
Yeah.
old Pokemon just looks bad, man.
It's like, I don't care about graphic fidelity. I care
Right.
about just the look and feel of the game
Yeah.
more. That's why, like, Gen 3 looks objectively better than Gen 1, and yet I prefer Gen 1's look and feel.
Yeah. I see that.
And that's almost certainly pure nostalgia. I'm perfectly willing to admit that. But it doesn't change anything for me. Like, even knowing that doesn't change how I feel.
For me it's ease of use.
Yeah.
It's like being able to easily read menus and just like have a feel of what's going on. Like I need to have a grasp on the game.
Yeah.
And with
And-
some graphics, I really have a hard time with that.
Sometimes, as the generations go on, as they like redesign characters,
And UI in
sometimes
general,
sometimes I don't like how they do things in the newer games in terms of how they look. Like, I think I'm again, Halo 2, I just have a weird obsession
Right.
with, fascination with. So
it's one
like,
of those games that's close to your heart.
I
Yeah,
like
that's all
the
right.
designs of the elites in Halo 2 and don't like them in any of the later games.
Yeah.
I don't think they look as good.
I really like the Halo 2 designs also. I totally agree with that.
And also in Mass Effect, it's interesting. So you're on the same ship basically in all three games.
Okay.
The first at the beginning of the second game, the ship explodes and they build a new one, like identical to the first one, supposedly. But also, the layout changes just a little in every game.
Okay.
Like what is on each floor and what is in each room. It's interesting in Mass Effect 2. There's an office. The character Miranda has an office on the third floor, and then in the third game, it's a different character who has an office in the same room.
Interesting. I mean, that's corporate, right? Stuff
Yep.
moves around.
Also, in the third game, the ship's AI takes over like a robot body, and
Nice.
she's walking around the ship.
Oh, cool. That's fun. I like that. Yeah, I think one game with pretty impressive UI for the time was Paper Mario, actually. I think it had pretty nice, concise menus, like fairly easy to use.
There's not
Stuff like
really
that.
anything about Paper Mario for the most part, and again, maybe this is just nostalgia talking. I
Yeah.
can't think of anything
biased,
wrong
but-
with the game, really.
Yeah, I know I'm biased because it's my favorite game, but it's just it does stuff really well. Like a lot of smart ideas and just
Yeah, and it didn't do a bunch of stuff that it didn't need to do.
yeah, and it's just
It
ease
didn't
of
have
use.
a bunch of superfluous stuff in it. Yeah.
And it's like the leveling system and stuff is so simple, but not too simplistic either. Like
Yeah.
it's not simple as in boring. It's simple as in like very nice and concise and usable.
Not hard to figure out.
Yeah. It's like, whereas in Final Fantasy, it's overcomplicated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah. So in my stack of unplayed games is Final Fantasy VIII, which has the infamous junction system.
Oh gosh, I have the remastered version for Switch, and it looks me in the eye a lot. Yeah. I'm like, oof. Maybe someday.
It seems like most people don't like it,
Yeah.
but a few people
Some
are
people
just
die
like,
by
this is great. Like, why isn't every Final Fantasy game like this? So
It reminds me a lot of just like weird, like the cards in Chain of Memories.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's a weird system that if you learn it, you might like it, but
yeah, it's such a Japanese thing.
it's
Just like,
very Japanese.
we made
thing.
this way too complicated.
It's some people really like that deep learning curve to games, especially RPGs.
Yeah.
And for me, it's very hit and miss. It's like sometimes I like it, but often I do not.
Yeah.
Like, I love learning deep rules to like a board game, maybe, I guess. But I don't think games teach you well enough these systems.
Yeah.
I think you should have the option to like read a rule book, basically, in the game.
In Mass Effect 1, there's a lot I didn't do with the mechanics because I didn't need to.
Or you just didn't feel like learning it.
I didn't change weapons until
really?
more than halfway through the game.
Nice.
Until I realized,
I mean, if you don't have to.
And when I did that, I realized that I had been using a pistol for a long time, but I had put all these upgrades into assault rifles. And so I finally switched to an assault rifle, and suddenly combat was way easier.
This assault rifle rules.
Dude, once I hit like
funny.
level 30-ish, I was unstoppable.
Oh,
I was just this killing machine. Just I was almost one-shotting like even kind of powerful enemies.
Yeah. I mean, that often happens with like shooters. I feel like the main character just becomes this one-man army, unstoppable force.
So I finished the game at level 44 in Mass Effect 1. To contrast, in Mass Effect 2, I was level 25.
Jeez. Yeah.
But also, in Mass Effect 1, you have a ton of stuff to put stats into. In Mass Effect 2, not nearly as many things.
Interesting.
So they moved a lot of stuff out of the stats and put it in different areas of the game, basically.
I guess that makes sense.
And you have one stat that's basically just improves everything. And so I always maxed that one out first, and then I did the other things. You get these abilities you can use, like you can temporarily turn on a certain type of ammo or something that I very rarely used in the game.
Yeah.
And
stuff like that. I don't use either usually.
In the first game, I did my usual thing of just picking the like soldier, warrior, fighter class.
Yeah.
But that's almost always the worst class in like every game.
It is. There's always one other weird broken class.
Yeah.
It's never that
like,
one.
I finally have learned to just not do that anymore. And so like, okay, let's find any other class.
Just try something.
Something that gives me something. So in Mass Effect 2, I was the infiltrator, which allows me to cloak.
Oh,
that was awesome. That was super useful in some missions.
That's nice.
Because like you just turn invisible and just run straight for the end goal and hit it real quick while there's enemies everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I like a rogue, so I get it. Yeah. I get that.
And so I picked the same one in Mass Effect 3 because of how useful it was in 2.
Nice. Did they ruin it and nerf it too much, or?
No, I don't think so.
Nice.
It's still pretty useful. You can also be like a biotic user, which is like the psychic powers basically. Nice. Where you can basically pick up enemies and just toss them around, which is pretty cool. But I let my allies do that, and I'm a shooter.
Yeah. Nice.
But I'm pretty good at sniping in the game, and that's very useful.
Yeah. That was always my thing in like Borderlands.
Yeah.
I was always a headshotter.
I am heavy weapons.
It was always pistol and sniper. Yeah. Revolver and sniper, yeah. Nice.
But yeah, it's like I remember in Warframe I was the warrior class, and I was being so outdone by everybody else. And I was that in World of Warcraft. I was that in just like it seems like every RPG I've ever played, I'm always the warrior / fighter / soldier.
That's funny. I'm never that. So
well,
That's your style, I guess, though.
I don't want to have to think about like 80 million different abilities.
Yeah,
I want
that's true.
to be really good at one thing. I want a one-trick pony with a really good trick. But there's usually a class that is that plus something else. And that
makes
tends
it
to
super
be
strong,
a
yeah.
good balance. Like one class I realized that I could get really good with if I really took the time in World of Warcraft was the priest. Because you've got holy and some other spec of priests that are both healing disciplines, and then you have shadow priests.
Yeah.
And shadow priests have a much smaller
Spooky.
spell pool than like mages or warlocks, and so you don't have nearly as many different things to learn. You just have a rotation of like 3 or 4 abilities that you want to just master, and if you get good at those, you're a very effective character. And so
Nice.
and so like that's the thing is like, okay, what's like soldier plus cool ability?
Soldier plus ability.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, I'm always the opposite.
Yeah.
I like bow and arrow, and I like magic
Yeah.
usually.
Well,
But-
yeah. And then like in PSO, I was originally used a hunter, but it was really hard for me to get the 3-hit combo thing down with the saber at first,
Oh yeah,
and it was way easier to do with a gun. And so I
saber's cool in that game.
I tended towards rangers, and I still like rangers the best because they can use rifles, which are the best weapon by far
yeah, rifles
in
rule.
the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah, my favorite was always like a small female android with a giant rifle.
Yeah.
I'm like, heck yeah. This is the Gundam stuff that I'm all about.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, we managed to put an hour in.
I know. Look at that. Look at us talking about video games.
Who'da thunk?
Who'da thunk? Hey, if you want to keep listening to us talk about video games, you can subscribe and download on everywhere you listen to podcasts. Please do so. And rate us on Spotify if you're into that.
Yep.
That'd be pretty cool.
Where can they engage with us?
You can engage on Twitter, obviously, where all the cool kids are.
Yeah.
Twitter at the Brothers G Pod.
You can also check out our subreddit on r/Brothers Game Podcast.
Start up a discussion. Post some stuff. Post a meme about Brian or me. That'd be really funny. It's happened.
Has it?
No, but if you tell them it has, they'll be like, oh, I got to get on this bandwagon then.
Like, where is it?
It saves on my phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Anyway, goodbye, everybody.
I guess that's it. We're going to go play Root. Bye.